Hello, 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 hello. I'm Lynn Browder, and I have a son, Owen, who is 13 and has autism. We paint together, working on his fine motor skills. He helps me paint the backgrounds of our paintings, and then I paint the rest. So I am doing a gnome Santa. And I'm laughing because if you watched the other day, I didn't know what I was doing. I laugh at myself because the terminologies in my brain. Owen is Mr. Leprechaun Man. He a few years ago, I keep holding this because it's making noise as I'm going along. A few years ago, we had a bad storm come through. There was some tornado activity. I forget the numbers. And Owen's school area was hit pretty hard. The school lost power, and of course that meant internet and all of that type of thing. And so when that happened, somehow Owen figured out that the leprechauns were going to come and fix his school. Now, I do not know why. I don't know if somebody said to him or if because of videos he watched or. There are a million reasons he could have talked about leprechauns fixing his school. But the leprechauns came and fixed his school. Fixed the roads, fixed the internet, fixed like people's houses. They fixed, and they did more fixing. And so since then, the leprechauns come and fix a lot of things. We had another storm, and the leprechauns fix some signs. We've had just things break, and we need the leprechauns to come fix them. So it's interesting how his mind works. He fascinates me all the time with the things that he remembers, the things he knows, the things that just he is amazing. So so the leprechauns have done a lot of things, and because of that, besides the fact I'm finished with my treatments for breast cancer, but I still have some tests and follow-ups for several years in the making, but like echo and just the normal after you're done process. So I am recovering, but I still have the chemo brain, and then I always say that I take my thyroid medicine to remember to take my thyroid medicine, because my brain is just, the thyroid. And then, of course, even though he's 13, I still have mommy brain. And, so there are all the brain, all the brain and all the brain and all the brain. And here we are. So, the other day when I painted, and I will show you in a minute, I painted another Santa, and I kept calling it, I know it's not troll, and I know it's not a leprechaun, and I know that there's another name, and I finally figured it out. And I was saying that I should paint live so that people can like say, yo, it's, and whatever it is. But I finally remembered what it was, and you know, gnome, gnome, gnome. But leprechaun kind of works, and troll kind of works. I mean, in the grand scheme of the things that we all scheme. So they're not completely, I suppose, because everybody kind of draws them a little bit differently and does a little bit different. But I was trying to figure out gnome. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So we'll let that dry for a brief fleeting moment. For those of you that have watched my page before, that's basically one of the hardest things that I always have to do is wait. I generally don't wait very well for something to dry. I'm usually painting on top of stuff, and then it kind of seeps through, per se. So I'm going to try to give that just a brief little moment here, and making that wider as I go along, because I'm trying to when you're doing like I'm going to do it very lightly, but I always do that outside. There's white and there's gray on there, and so when I'm doing this, I'm going to add a tiny bit of the gray in this, because that's going to give it a little bit of the dimension when it dries. So it's, your hats and your brims, your edges are generally white when it's like in real life, but because of the depth, like it needs that extra little bit, and so it's not going to show like too much, but it will kind of show as it goes along. So, and I'm gonna put some more color and stuff down here while we're doing that, and then I'll fix that in a moment. So that is my story. So this is a Santa slash gnome slash whatever you want it to be. Whatever you want it to be. So Owen is with, it's Saturday, and Owen is with his grandmama. He's been sleeping pretty good, and last night he went to bed I'm wearing one of my real, quote unquote, real dresses, and trying to be careful and not spill everything over on me. But anyways, that's not. So he went to bed pretty easily last night. And one of the things that I talk about with him is, like, I try to get him to understand that any point in the middle of the night, any point at any point during the day, whatever he needs, that as much as I can, I will always be there for him. But he needs to, if there's not a problem, I mean, he can go to the bathroom all night long. He can, come get me if he's scared or needs help or not feeling well, and I try to get him to understand that as much as possible. But he's really been doing great about staying in bed until 5 a.m. And I feel as though he's learning how to tell time. He's learning about the clock. His school's working really hard on it, and we've been working really hard with him on it as well. And so this morning, I could hear him. In his room, and I was already up. I was up way early this morning. And it was like about, 4:55, something like that. And it wasn't much longer. And right at 5 o'clock, I heard him coming to my room. And like I said, I was up. And so I feel like he's really gotten the hang of this nighttime and 5 o'clock and that type of thing. So it's good because he needs to understand, we all have nights we can't sleep, but it's how we, learn to handle that. And if we can try to go back to sleep, or like if he wakes up in the middle of the night, I won't say he does it every time he wakes up, but he gets kind of emotional about it. And so trying to keep him not quite as emotional about waking up in the middle of the night, that excuse me, that's the part that's important to work with him on, and make sure he understands that he, just because he's awake doesn't mean,
this is a reminder,
doesn't mean that he needs to wake me up. So and like I said, it's hard. I mean, he's still learning and growing, and that his age is one thing, and just it's a lot. And so making sure that he understands what that all means, because I never want him to not think he can come and get me or, be up, but working together and learning how to, be not upset at that type of thing in the middle of the night. That's the important thing, is working together and knowing the difference between being upset and being able to handle it. It's a wild ride, knowing where he's come from, and knowing that he is doing, he has come so far, and he is really getting all of this. He's getting what it means and how to deal with things and such. But getting to that point, how do you explain to somebody that they can come anytime they need something, that I'm here for him, but to also know that just because he's awake doesn't mean he has to scream or be upset with me because I wasn't awake or I wasn't, ready, wasn't wasn't prepared that he was going to wake up. And like I said, from when he was so much younger to now, it's really, he's come so far. And really the amount of change that's happened with that is very good. I can't stress that enough. But, it's also just kind of working through this and making sure that he understands what the differences are. We live in a house, and our neighbors, we're not right on top of them, but I'm bad at distances. We're probably 12 feet, at least between the house and their house. But, sound carries. And when Owen was younger, he would scream oh so much. And the neighbors, which I adore them and I'm so thankful for them, they would say, sorry you had such a hard night, which completely means they had a hard night as well, because they were up listening to poor Owen screaming. And he would have such horrible meltdowns as a baby, all, toddler years and everything. And he required no sleep. And, I look at it and I think, well, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because when I was little, I did not require a lot of sleep either. And so I look back at that and I think, we, they didn't really test a lot for autism when I was little. But if I had to guess, and, from what I know now, I wouldn't doubt that I'm somewhere on the spectrum. I could be wrong. It could be just my, personality or something, but I feel like it, And so I get it. I get a lot of his, and just being around him and knowing how hard so many things are. And like I said, how far he's come. The doctors had told me that he probably wouldn't talk. And every time somebody would say that to me, I would tell Owen that he could talk. All he had to do was find another place in his mind to put those words, and he could do it. And my boy talks. And not only does he talk, he knows language after language after language after language. So he's doing incredible. He's come so far. I've said that I don't know how many times, but I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of what he's doing and where he's going with his life. And, there's so much to what he has accomplished and gotten through, and how he handles things. And, it's still a learning process for both of us. And that's the thing that I tell him is, we are a team. We are learning about this together. And that is the important part, is knowing that we're in this together. We are in this together. So that, to me, is the big picture. I don't always have the lightest hand, because I have a slight shake, and try to draw semi-straight lines here, and I mean, snowflakes aren't exactly straight to begin with, right? They're all over the map. So, getting close, So anyways, I am so happy with how far Owen has come, and I mean, just the progress. So he's been sleeping much better, but for him to even be able to look at a clock and stay in bed till I always think I should have said 600 instead of 500, but you know, it's all good. He's doing incredible. And like I said, the amount of things that he has learned and is now like accomplishing, and just so proud of him. So proud of him. So proud. I'm doing a little decoration here, and then we're basically done. Done. I think. I'm sleepy today. I don't think I've had enough coffee, even though I've had a lot of coffee. I was awake way before Owen even thought about coming and getting out of bed. I could not sleep. So much going on. And noise sometimes wakes me up. And then just, like I said, lots of other little things going on. So, but, whoops. So I'm going to put some pink little berries in there. Should probably still put red, I suppose, but I'm putting pink. So, just gonna put a little extra stuff in here. So, I'll show you the other one in just a second. I promise. So we do O for Owen. And then L. And B. And then, let's see. You know, I feel like I was thinking I would do one more, but I think I'll leave it. I was thinking about doing one more snowflake, but so that's this one and that one. So a little bit different here and there, but there they are. Oh, I'm gonna make them all fall. Oh my. All right, so there we go. Thank you so much for watching and being a part of our day. Toodles, toodles.